what's going on, NGT community? It's Guns for a Hire here, and we're going to be taking a look at Killzone 3. Don't worry, I'm going to be showing some gameplay. It's not going to just be me going blah 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 blah. They're like, where's the gameplay? It's coming up in just a minute. But I wanted to let you know that I'm doing this. I'm doing sort of a general overview of my opinion and experience with Killzone 3, and then I'm actually going to be putting out, I think, is it 5 or 6, based on the classes, 5 or 6 different specific videos on each class and how I feel about it and what I like about it, what I don't like about it. Although there's not much I don't like about it, but whatever. It's just me. So anyway, let's get into this. This is going to be a general overview, but expect some more sort of class-specific videos coming up very, very soon. Let's get into it. Alright, first things first, Killzone 3 is an exclusive title for the PlayStation 3 console, and it will be coming out on February 22nd. Alright, now I'm going to do something that usually annoys a lot of people when they hear reviews, and I'm going to compare it to Call of Duty, but I'll tell you why I'm going to do that. The only reason why I'm going to do that is because majority of the gaming community, a huge, vast majority of the gaming community has at one point, or is continuing, to play Call of Duty. So it's the easiest one to compare. But I'm also going to show you why you shouldn't necessarily compare it to Call of Duty at the same time. Because it's apples and oranges. This type of game is very, very different. And if you come in here expecting sort of Call of Duty type gameplay, you're going to be very, very frustrated and you're going to put the game down very quickly. So one thing that you're going to notice in here, when you come in here, a typical complaint and or at least something that you notice, for those of you that have never played this game and the first time you're playing the beta, you're going to feel what's sort of referred to as a sluggish control, or this laggy control. And everyone, including myself at one point, said, oh, you know, I don't really like it or whatever. It's something that you have to get used to. And the reason why it's there, number one, it gives this sort of, this really heavy feel. Like, I mean, these guys are not lightweights, okay? These are not like little skinny sprinters running around all over the place, you know, jumping over desks and stuff. These are like big-ass soldiers, and they're running around with some big-ass guns. But it gives you that feel. The developers don't want you to have this lightning-fast reflexes like you do in Call of Duty. What happens when you have that type of gameplay, you end up having 6 million people that all they think that the game is about is running around with lightning-fast reflexes and then owning everyone or knifing everyone. That does not happen in this game, and it's done... As I missed the staircase. There you go, perfect example. It doesn't happen in this game, but it's basically done on purpose because it forces you to move a little bit more cautiously as you're going around the map. It forces you to sort of take a look at your surroundings before you move from cover to cover. And here's an example of actually the engineer fixing the ammo boxes, which is one of the classes. But there are components of Killzone 3 that make it very, very unique from other first-person shooters. And that is, the classes really are unique. You can't just take one character and then put in this perk, put in that perk. They all have set attributes. And that, I mean, like your strength, your speed, everything like that. You cannot change that. What you can change as you unlock things is upgraded abilities. Faster, like for instance, the engineer here, when he repairs the ammo boxes. As you get more powerful, you know, and upgrade and unlock things, you can repair them a lot faster. You can also learn to unlock what are called sentry guns. It's the same sort of sentry guns that are in Call of Duty. You place them somewhere, but only the engineer can actually do that. So every person in Call of Duty, every class has a specific role, whether it's a support role, whether it's front lines, whether it's a sniper. And snipers in this game here are snipers the way that they are sort of seen in real life. Snipers that, you know, are effective when they are super, you know, hidden and far, far away. Because they have what's known as a cloaking ability. And what happens is, it's kind of like Predator. You ever watch the movie Predator? You know, they have this sort of, you can sort of see them, and the more you move, the more visible you are. So when you're situated really, really far back and you're perfectly still, they cannot see you. The second that you fire your weapon, that's when you're actually exposed. So there's all sorts of attributes that make it very, very cool and sort of force you to take a certain role. You've got roles like I believe the infiltrator, who has a disguise, and you end up looking like, you know, when you see an enemy player, you see the red name tag sort of pop up over their head. Where an infiltrator, when they actually activate their disguise, as you're running around, the enemy will see you as green. They'll think that you're actually a friendly until you're relatively close up, and then all of a sudden you'll start sort of blinking red, and they're like, uh-oh, and then usually then it's too late, because we all know a millisecond in this game, or in first-person shooter games, all you need is that, you know, half a second to a second advantage in order to actually kill. Oh, I was hoping for a really cool melee attack there. The melee attack there. Anyway, the heaviness in there does actually play into it, and it does support the type of game that Guerrilla Games wanted to create here, and they do a really good job. I played Killzone 2 extensively. Again, at first, I wasn't a huge fan of that weightiness when I first started playing Killzone 2. But the more you play this, if you gotta give it a chance though, the learning curve on this is very, very steep, okay? It's not like Call of Duty game where you throw it in and boom, you're off and running in, you know, as a matter of a couple of games and you're feeling pretty comfortable and you can pretty much get the hang of it no matter what. This game does not allow you to do that. But at the same time, that's a really, really good thing. You don't want a game where you're gonna get bored, where you know, after about 2 days worth of playing, you're kind of already in the groove and it's really easy. The fact that it is a steep learning curve increases the appeal of this. Oh my god, Hornet's Nest. I should have just chosen one person there. I don't know what I was doing. But anyway, the learning curve should be looked upon as something that is a really good attribute to it. It keeps your interest. Like I said before with Black Ops, you know, if I mentioned it before, because it doesn't really offer anything new, because the learning curve is not really that steep or there at all, you tend to get bored quite quickly when you're playing those games. Yes, they're a lot of fun because everyone can jump in and just start playing, and it's, you know, it's easy, it's fun, it's fast, and you don't have to think about it. You can pound back a 6-pack and boom, you're still doing all right. Whereas in this game here, you really have to be careful. It's really team-oriented, and you've got people that are playing very key strategic roles, support roles, and all sorts of... Oh, this guy. Wow. My own teammate. Relax. And people get freaked out because of that infiltrator role, so you just end up shooting everybody. But anyway, very different game, but I absolutely love the learning curve on it. You gotta give it a chance. You can't expect it to be like Call of Duty. I'm going to give a couple of more examples. I'm going to finish it off actually at the end of this game because it was a pretty short game. Anyway, let's continue this. Alright, so we took a look at the gameplay there. Now, again, I didn't get to finish it. There's a few things that you really got to take into consideration with this game. The visuals. The visuals on this are spectacular. Yes, they don't mean everything. Graphics don't mean everything if you can't enjoy the game based on how you play it. You know, the playability, the game engine itself. If that is, you know, hijacking your buzz when you're playing it, then you're not going to enjoy it no matter how amazingly beautiful the scenery looks. But it is, for me, you know, I look at the overall package, and the scenery and the graphics and everything like that, the animation is spectacular. I don't think there is a first-person shooter game out there that can match the amazingness of the graphics and the scenery on there. I mean, number one, because I'm pretty damn sure that it's packed up to 25 gigabytes on the Blu-ray disc, which you just don't get in other games. You can't get in these multi-platform games. And that's not a shot against Xbox, the Wii, or anything else. PC obviously can handle it. It's just a reality. It's just, that's the way it is, and they've maximized that. That's how they're able to bring you these amazing graphics. I mean, you look at it and you're like, holy crap, like, why aren't other games like that? It's because they've maximized the use of that Blu-ray disc. 25 gigabytes allows them to do that. But at the same time, it doesn't take away from the actual gameplay. Like, I mean, all those graphics are running just beautifully. But there's a reason also why, which is another great feature of Killzone 3, and they have dedicated service. So we're not talking about hosting where, you know, when you play Call of Duty, one person is selected as host, and depending on how their signal is, people will have either a one dot red bar to 4, and you're going to have a huge variance in terms of lag. Whereas with the servers, dedicated servers, everyone's on a consistent level. You never have complaints about lag. So that's an amazing quality of the game. You really have to take a look at that. That is a huge feature and an amazing feature to have, especially on console games. That should not be overlooked. The other thing is some people don't necessarily like the overly animated reloading times and all that sort of stuff there. But they do it again because they want to add that feeling of immersion, you know what I mean? Like you're actually there. And sometimes you have to fiddle around and get that thing in there. It's not always as easy. Like, I mean, I've fired off M16, well, it's a C7 rifle in Canada, but the M16, I mean, it's not just like boom, 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 boom. That doesn't happen. You clip it, you take it out, you take your next magazine cartridge, slap it in, make sure it's in there, and bring it back up. And that's what they've sort of simulated there. Yes, I know in a video game it can be a little bit annoying, but that's the type of environment, that's the type of game that they're trying to create, is a realistic. That's why the graphics are there. So that when you're looking at it, you're like, wow, this is friggin' amazing. When he's reloading, you're like, come on, boom, slap it in there. That's why when you're running around, it's kind of got that, you know, jogging or the jumpy kind of feel to it. Not everyone is gonna like it, but trust me, if you play, the more and more you play with it, believe me, I had the same complaints. The more that you play the game, the more you overlook those things, or not necessarily overlook, but you get used to them. They become part of the game. You don't even notice them really. What you do start noticing is that the gameplay itself is leaps and bounds beyond what Call of Duty type games offer. It's not just about running around and killing people. It's about strategically placing proximity mines, getting those turrets up, fixing those ammo boxes so that people can, you know, fix them. I mean, with it, I think it's the marksman can target people so that everyone else can see and it lights them up. There are so many things and aspects of Killzone 3 and basically from Killzone 2 that make this game amazingly team-oriented, very, very strategic. But the learning curve, as I mentioned before, the learning curve is very steep on it. A lot of you will play it, and you'll play it for maybe an hour, if that, and then toss it away and say, forget it, this game sucks, I'm not going to play it. It is hard, but keep playing it, keep going through it, look beyond the, get used to it, become acclimatized to it. I promise you, if you play the game beyond the sort of, oh, I don't like that feeling, get used to that, forget how you played in Call of Duty, because that game style will not translate over to Killzone 3. It is not translatable. At the same time, the reality is this. Killzone 3, because the learning curve is very steep, because the gameplay is pretty much way more team-oriented and not, you know, this simple run around really, really fast, really easy to pick up, which is kind of the same as, you know, learning curve very steep. I like to repeat myself. Because of those features, and obviously the fact that it is a PS3 exclusive, the game will never be a monstrous blockbuster, which is a shame, because this type of game really is something that I would love to play, you know, for a long, long time. And if you do give it a chance, I promise you that you will like it. If you start getting into planning out your classes and unlocking certain features and seeing, wow, that feature is actually incredibly useful, that really, really helps, and it has improved my game drastically, you'll start getting into this game more and more. I'm hoping that more PlayStation gamers, particularly, sort of are able to get through that learning curve, at least to a point where you can start enjoying a little bit more. The beginning is very, very hard. That's really going to be filtering on a lot of people. But if you're watching this, if you're playing the beta, if you're one of those people that are like, ah, you know, I can't stand it, I can't play it, blah, 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 keep playing it. Give it a little bit more time. I know the learning curve is very steep on it, but if you get past it, I promise you, you'll enjoy that game more than you probably have enjoyed any other first-person shooter game. You'll start realizing, you know, like, hey, you know what? This is a very, very team-oriented game. I feel more connected with my team and with the actual gameplay that's going on there. It's much more intense. It's more intense because people will hold the line. People won't just be able to run through. It's not that easy. You don't have these people running around crazy. And quite frankly, I love the melee attacks as well. They're freaking insanely sick. But they're so gratifying when you freaking come up to someone and then you slice their throat or poke their eyes out. I know, it's like I've got issues. Anyway, give it a shot. I know a lot of people are very critical on Killzone 3, but I think that's because of the learning curve particularly. But don't compare it. You can't really compare it to Call of Duty, because if you do, you will be thoroughly disappointed and you'll be one of those people that simply drop it and don't play anymore. Anyway, that's it. That's just my opinion. Leave your comments below what your opinions are. As always, I will be looking over them, and, you know, maybe I'll talk about them in other videos as well. I'm Guns for Hire from NextGenTactics. Killzone 3, don't disclaim it. Peace. Get the latest updates and stay in touch with the NGT community with our all-new Facebook application. Check the description of the video for details.